Jesus is the bread of life, and he can sustain you. Like Jesus is the bread of life, and he can sustain you. In fact, John 15:4 says this, abide in me and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself unless it abides in the vine. Neither can you unless you abide in me. Now, I've run 2 half marathons in my life. I know it doesn't look like it. But I've run 2 half marathons, and unlike Crystal, I don't hear God when I run. The only thing I'm praying is, God, don't let me die. Y'all know that song, Dumb Ways to Die? Yeah, that's a dumb way to die, running. And Crystal's like, oh, I just heard the voice of God, and God downloaded a message. All I could hear was my heartbeat in my ears. But if you don't know, like when you're gearing up to run a half marathon, for those of you that don't know, it's 13.1 miles. It's a long ways. But when you're gearing up for that, you gradually increase your miles, right? And so I spent a lot of hours and a lot of time running down county roads, trying to gear up for this. And what you do is you figure out when race day is, and you begin to work your way backwards, and you try to get to where right before the last run that you put in is about 11 miles. So you're running 11 miles. You don't run up to time because you can make it the 13.1 miles if you can run 11 miles. And so here I am, I'm running roads, and it's hot, and it's summer in Texas, and everything is brutal, and I'm not having fun. But we get to race day, and what I did not know is that in the race, because I'd never run one, because I never saw the need in it. But in this race, I'm running, and along the way, we get about 4 or 5 miles in, and all of a sudden, there's a station. And at this station, there are people that are handing you Gatorade. There's snacks. And what's crazy is they've got signs and they're cheering you on. They're like, come on, you got this. You're doing so good. And I was like, and all along the way, every so many miles, there would be another station with more Gatorade, with more snacks, with more people cheering. Now, I'll say that in my training, on those county roads, no one handed me Gatorade. No one cheered me on. The only thing people did was honk. I'm like, I don't need you to honk. I need help. Nobody was helping me. So I'll say that I have run a long distance with something that helped me, and I've run a long distance without things to help me. And I'll pick the help any single day of the week. And some of you feel like, man, this Christian life is really hard. It's difficult. Like I feel like I'm running on fumes, that I'm running on empty. Can I ask you the question, friend? Are you abiding in Him? I don't read my Bible in the morning to check a religious box. I read it because I need to abide in Him, because I need Him to sustain me throughout the day. I don't lift my hands and worship Him because it's a religious obligation. I lift my hands and worship Him because I need His presence to sustain me today. Jesus is the bread of life, and He wants to sustain you. Are you abiding in Him? He doesn't just want to be a part of your Sunday. He wants to be a part of every single day of the week. Every single day of the week, when I can have an encounter with Him, it's a chance for Him to sustain me. The second thing you need to know is Jesus is the bread of life, and He can satisfy you. He can satisfy you. A lot of times we look at other things to satisfy us, but Jesus can satisfy us. John 6:35 said this, and Jesus said to them, I am the bread of life. He who comes to me shall never hunger, and he who believes in me shall never thirst. Yes. You know, I have 2 rules when I go grocery shopping. The first rule that I have is you always have a list. You don't walk into a grocery store without a list. The second rule I have is that I will never go grocery shopping when I'm hungry. Never. This happened to us the other day. We needed to go to the grocery store, and so Crystal and I were going to stop in, but it was right around lunchtime. And I was like, no, you know the rule. We're not going to Costco. I will have to get a second mortgage on my house to pay for the grocery bill if I walk in there hungry. So guess what? We slid into In-N-Out, got a $5 hamburger and saved us a ton of money. Come on. But I don't do that because here's what happens is when you go in somewhere and you're hungry, hunger makes you do stupid things. And the same thing is true in your life. When you walk through this life and you're hungry and you're not, some of you are only eating one day a week and you wonder, why am I not satisfied? Like you come to church on Sunday, but you're not living this life Monday through Saturday. Like Jesus can satisfy you, but you're gonna have to make it a part of your life. Like get up and spend time in His Word. Get up and spend time in prayer. Get up and spend time in worship on Monday. Why? Because He wants to satisfy you. And so many people are wondering, why am I not satisfied? And it's they're looking for things to satisfy them. So they turn to money. They turn to alcohol. They turn to drugs. There's like, I just need something to fill the void on the inside of me. They turn to sex. They turn to success. And when none of those things satisfy them, they're wondering, I got to find something else that will satisfy me. And the reason why you can't find something that will satisfy you is because you have a God-sized void on the inside of you, and only Jesus can fill that void. And so you're looking for things to satisfy you, but only Jesus can satisfy. Third thing you need to know is that Jesus is the bread of life, and He can save you. John 12:47 says, if anyone hears my teaching and fails to observe them, does not keep them, but disregards them, it is not I who judges him, for I have not come to judge, this is Jesus talking, and to condemn, and to pass sentence, and to inflict penalty on the world, but to save the world. If you read a much simpler translation, it would say, I have not come to condemn the world, but that the world through me might be saved. Jesus didn't come to condemn people, so why are we? Again, we go back to His Word to see who He is. In 1981, there was a Minnesota news radio show that was reporting an incident that was unfolding in California. In California, a Volkswagen Bug had been stolen. Now, before you get too carried away, nobody really cared about Volkswagen Bugs back then. They don't care about them today. But this Volkswagen Bug had been stolen, and they were trying. Police had pulled out every effort to try to find this thief. They were trying to locate this thief, and so they were talking on news. They were talking on like TV news. They were talking on radio. They were trying to figure out any way they could to get news to this guy, like he needed to turn himself in. And the reason why that they were trying to get this guy to turn himself in, it was not to apprehend him. But here's the thing: is that the owner of the car reported the car stolen, and then let the police know that there was a box of crackers that was in the front seat. And the box of crackers was not a special box of crackers, but it had been poisoned because the owner of the vehicle had a rat problem. And so he had to make a quick stop, but he was on his way home to put out the poisonous crackers to kill all the rats. And so in an attempt to save the thief's life, they weren't trying to apprehend him. They were trying to save his life. They were trying to get him, not to put him in jail, but to keep him from eating the crackers and dying. And so many people think that they're running from God to escape God's penalty because that's what people in the church say. But the truth is that you're running from God not to escape a penalty, because He didn't come into the world to condemn you. He didn't come in the world to inflict penalties on you. The Bible says that He came into the world to save you. And so you're not running from punishment, you're running from saving. Jesus is the bread of life, and He can save you. When we run from Him, we're running from salvation. We're running from grace. We're running from love. And we're running from mercy.